Hey everyone, this is Adrian. In this video, I'm going to show you the new things in Avo 3. You can find all the new features and the big changes inside our documentation website. You can go to docs.avohq.io and just go to Avo 3 and you'll find them all listed here by the type of license they were added. So let's get into it. First, the advanced license got 3 new features. The big one is dynamic filters. You may remember we have these kinds of filters where you declare them class by class and you tell them what query they should do and what values they should have. But now we introduced a newer stripe-like kind of filters feature where you can click this button and you have all of these features. And the way to add those is just to go inside your resource, and on a field you just declare it filterable. So you say filterable true, and then what Avo will do will go and figure out what kind of field this is, if it's a text, if it's a text area, if it's a select or a boolean, and will create the appropriate filter for you. For example, the created add filter, it figured out that it's a date time field and it will give you a proper calendar for you to select your value. And then of course it will give you a list of conditions like is not, is on or before, or is on or after, or is within, and you can set a range of dates and times. The text field, it'll give you more conditions based on the type of field, and I believe we have one for boolean, of course. Yes, it's true, it's false, it's null or not null. So yeah, this is very helpful to basically build up your filtering system. The users can do that by themselves without you providing more filters out of the box. Custom controls everywhere. So before, you remember we had show controls. This was a beta feature in the Pro license. Now, and you can control everything in what the user can see in the show page. So basically here what the buttons are. So you can create new links, new buttons. You can take out some of the old ones. But now we introduced more controls on edit screen and index. So now if I go to edit, I have a completely new experience here, and on index as well. If I go here, you can change the buttons as well. You can add, your custom actions, custom links, whatever you need. You can customize the type of buttons, the style, and the color, and you have full control over that. And the new cool one is row controls, which changes the buttons from the rows. So basically before you had only 3 controls, edit, view, and delete. Now you can add custom actions to them, or you can add action lists, or even custom links with custom icons if you need to. So it's very, very powerful. Next, it's the resource scopes. This is a cool one. You might have seen it in Shopify and in other places. It's basically this kind of grouping where you want to filter all of these users by if they're like an admin or non-admin or whatever you need to do, but you don't want to give the user a filter, an actual filter, because it's very important, they have to do it every day. So basically these scopes are in place just for that. So you can further segment the users inside your index view. Moving on to the Pro license, it got 2 features, resource cards. So before we had dashboards. Actually, let me jump here. We had dashboards where you could add different types of cards. Now you can also add cards on the resources. So you can add them on the resource index page like this one, or even in the show or edit page. So you can see them up tops, and here you'll have access to the record. So basically this particular user, and you can display that data about this user if that's what you need. Records preview on index. This is a cool one. For example, maybe you have more properties on a record, but you don't want them displayed in these columns. You don't want to make it too crowded. Now introduce this new field where you can customize and control and add other fields that you don't want inside your rows. And now you can add basically any kind of field, and it will show up just like in the show page. So just like they will show up here. They will be displayed on the index. So you just hover over them and you get that information. Moving on to the community license features. The first one is custom fields from template. Let's imagine that we have a field and we love it. We just want to apply like one tweak and we don't want to override it for everybody. Now you can generate one template from just one by passing the option of the field name. So you can say Rails generate Avo eject, and you can say field components for text, and then it will generate the actual field file where you configure it, and you'll get also the components for it, the edit, the index, and the show components. And then you can go in, it'll look just the same, you'll import it again, and then you can change it however you want it. This is very, very powerful. Custom resource view components. Now, this is another one we got requests from time to time to, let's say they want to customize this view, this resource, this index view, and maybe the show view, but they don't want to override the whole component for every resource. Well, now you can go and generate one of these resource views with this command, and then you can override it inside the component, inside the resource. So you can go in a resource and say self components. You can say, you open up a hash and then you say, okay, for index view, I want this component path. So basically you'll have a new view component at your disposal. And you can say, of course, for show, for edit, and for new, and that will be overridden inside Avo, and that will be used by Avo to display the data. Again, very, very powerful. Custom components for fields. Similar to how we had that other components option, we added one on the field as well. So you can go on one field. Let's take this field, and you can say components again. And then, of course, you have index, show, and edit. And then you can pass in view components, your own view components. And of course, after you ejected them before, you can reuse them. So basically, this is a lighter version of that previous feature where you don't have to create a totally new field, but maybe you just want to add another, I know, an arrow or an icon here. You just eject that partial for the show view, and then you use that inside the current field. Better intelligent view object. So before, you would probably use something like this. If you want to do some things in the view, if the view is something, or if the view is index or the view is show, you'd probably do something like this. View is equals to index, or edit, or forms. Yeah. Now we made this more intelligent by, and you can call it like index, just like that, or edit, or you can say forms, and that will include edit and new, or you can say display, and display is index and show. So it's a little bit easier to work with. It's, ask, don't tell pattern, and it's easier to work with. Better Tailwind CSS integration. We did have a rather okay integration with Tailwind CSS before, but I invite you to come and read everything here. That way of integrating with Tailwind CSS was leading up to some conflicts. This one is very, very powerful. It will scan Avo, it will scan all of the other Avo gems, it will scan your repo, and at the end, it will give you just one CSS file. I've written everything about it here, so I won't go very deep into it right now. The new def fields API and the def index, show, and edit fields. One of the things that you might notice is that the fields are not class methods anymore. So before, you would do something like this. You would start up, actually, let me find a different one, course resource. So before, you would start a resource and then you just add the fields here. And this is okay from like an API, like a good API standpoint. This is good. This is what we're used to. These are the DSLs that we are used to with Rails. But this is a little bit, how can I put it? It's not as extendable as we'd like. If you wanted to reuse some of these fields, you have to do quite some trickery, to add some concerns, to do quite some big trickery to make it work, just because they are class methods. Now we introduce this new API where you can pass fields inside the def fields method, right? It's the rest, it's not changed. Like the API, the way you declare the fields is exactly the same, but it's in the def fields method. And this helps in multiple ways. One of the ways is that we don't have to it's a little bit internal. The class methods are evaluated when the app boots up, and now we can just run the fields method whenever we need to. And the second, it leads to better composability. Like, let's say we want to have some fields that are just for admin. So we'll say field 1 as text and whatever, and 2 as text. And these are two fields that we want to show if the user is an admin. Now we can just do this. If current user is admin, you can just run that method there. So you can see how easy you can, mix and choose and switch fields around. And this should work inside tabs and panels as well. We did quite some trickery there with the DSL and the backend code. And this opens up the gate to something else. Let's imagine we don't have anything like this. Let's just delete it. We don't have any fields. Let's say you have a very rich resource where you really want to customize what is visible on the index page and what is visible on the show page or edit page. You can do things like def index fields, and this is supported out of the box. This is public API with the index fields. You can say, you can tell it, field 1 again, as text, and then field 2 as text, right? And then you can have a different method that says show fields, and this would be 3, and this would be 4. See how easy it is to not go into that if else visibility toggle just by using different categories of methods. And of course you can still run and add common fields inside. So again, this is very, very powerful. It does come with some caveats, so definitely check out the documentation. Plugins API, this is still a work in progress. So in theory, we have the APIs out there. We are using them, but they're just not documented. It's just not final API. If you do have any ideas or feedback, definitely come reach us out and tell us about it, because we'd love to make this happen. Testing helpers. Again, one common request was that people were doing integration tests and it was difficult to click things or, open dropdowns or open the date picker. And now we created dedicated RSpec test helpers, which will do things like, find the has many field REPL. It will write in search. It will select the picker menu. So all of these nasty things, we have proper helpers for that. Eject command improvements. So we talked a little bit about this when I talked about field components. Again, you can eject custom partials, you can eject components. This is something new. You can eject any type of component, you just give it the name. You can eject views, the scopes. You can set scopes on them. So if you want to use one special show view for the user or the team, for example, you can pass in the scopes as themes, and it will add that module, that namespace, or that extra directory that it needs. So that will be, very, very easy for you to just generate a new one. Panel layout improvements. This is very cool. We're probably going to throw some more documentation on this. Before you had on the show or edit page, you had one main panel and then you had other things below it. Now you can have one main panel with multiple bodies. You can insert resource tools here. You can have fields above the main panel. You can have multiple sidebars. You can have multiple boxes here. So one here and one here and one here. You can really play around with all of that content inside with that DSL inside your show and edit view. So definitely keep an eye out for this page for more documentation. Action link generator. This is a tiny one, but very powerful because Avo uses Hotwire and leverages Hotwire so much, and it's such an amazing tool. Let me just find one with an action. Because these actions are actually just links with Hotwire attributes, you might want to trigger opening this action like this model, but somewhere else, I don't know, in the edit or your custom resource or something. Now we provide this new link arguments method on each action, and it will give you back the path and data, and then you can use that to create your own links. So basically you have actions anywhere. And this is very cool because we have a few improvements with actions, like multiple actions workflow. You can jump from one action to another, just like a step-by-step flow. And another improvement is Stimulus.js in actions. Before you were able to add Stimulus.js to your resources, now you can do that with actions as well, and then you can attach behaviors to those to your action fields and do whatever you need because it's Stimulus.js. We made an intelligent resource title. Now you don't have to declare the title. It will try to figure out if it's a name, if it's title, or if it's ID, or you can just override it if you want to do that. So again, these are just the big features that we worked on, the big things. We made many improvements under the hood to make sure Avo is more performant, runs cleaner, it's easier to maintain, easier to contribute to, and it's just a better experience all around. That's about it for the new features of Avo 3. We hope you love them, you find them powerful, and they save you time. And you know where to find us. We have our GitHub repo, our Twitter account, and our Discord server for any feedback and ideas. Thank you so much. Have a good one.